Hello, I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. Today we're talking about educational funding and the things that are needed for teachers to do their jobs. Joining us today are Keith Poston, President of WakeEd Partnership, and State Representative Julie von Haefen, who just introduced the School Supplies Act of 2023. And to both of you, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you.
It's hard to imagine we don't have enough money for school supplies. What's going on? Let's start first with, I guess, a little background on each of you. And Representative, would you like to go first?
Sure. I've represented District 36 here in Wake County since I was elected in 2018. So I'm in my third term in the House. Before I was in the state legislature, I was a PTA leader here in Wake County. I was the Wake County PTA president, and I also served on the state board for the North Carolina PTA. So as a PTA leader, I'm very well familiar with all the requests that teachers put in for school supplies. As a PTA leader, we were one of the ones raising money and raising schools, collecting school supplies.
I get the letters every week.
So I know that teachers, are paying for many of these supplies out of their pockets, and that's why I really ran for office, was because of public education, and just happy to continue to advocate for teachers in the General Assembly.
Well, Keith, how about you? What's your background?
Well, I'm currently president of Wake Education Partnership. We're a nonprofit based here in Raleigh that our primary focus is supporting the schools and the teachers and the students of Wake County. So I've been involved in education policy, advocacy, and community work for about 10 years. And actually we were delighted when someone like Julie von Haefen decided to run for office, because we knew Julie who was an active public school champion, and that's what we want. Regardless of party, we want people to invest in our schools, and so it's been great to work with the Representative von Haefen on this bill and other things to make sure our students have what they need.
It's crazy. I got to be honest with you. It's just, it's been going on for as long as I've been around, and school and teachers, particularly, have had to buy their supplies for kids. It seems hard to believe that we're not capable of purchasing basic supplies. So and I'm not sure which one wants to start, explain how that's even possible today, because we spend a lot of money on schools.
Well, I'll say first, we are capable of doing it. It's a matter of choosing not to. It's a matter of priorities. There's been, former Governor Hunt used to say, you want to know my priorities, show me your budget. And we've seen a decline in school funding, particularly over the last decade or so. School supplies, and I'm glad that we're talking about it today, is really just a symptom of a larger underfunding of public schools. But I think the school supplies deal, which is why we started our program, which I know we're going to talk about, I think it resonates with families and with the individuals, because they ask the same question you just asked. How is it possible? Does your job require you to go buy your own office supplies? I've been in the workforce for 30 years. I've never had to go out and buy the stuff that I'm required to do for my job, but that I'm not provided the materials to do it. So it's just one of the symptoms that I think is part of the reason why we're having challenges with our teacher pipeline, because I think teachers are feeling the pressure of lack of supplies, lack of support, lack of instructional support, other things inside the schools. And it's all about priorities and funding.
Can you explain, for somebody like me who's kind of an idiot on this stuff, how does this work? And I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts because it can be boring with funding and all that, and budgeting, but the school superintendent comes with a budget, you got the school board, you got the county, you got the state, you got the feds. There's a lot going on here. But at some point, someone has to say, we'll fund this, but we won't fund this. Isn't that true? So how do you not fund school supplies for kids?
I don't know, actually. Like Keith said, it is just a matter of priorities. We're actually in the middle right now of our budgeting process for the state. We just passed our House budget last week, actually, in the General Assembly, and now it will be going over the Senate. And, you know, like he said, we had a press conference on this very issue around teacher salaries, you know, state employee salaries. You know, there's so many parts of our budget that we could be putting more money into. And there's kind of this narrative that we have a quote unquote surplus, but I don't like to say it's a surplus, because if you're starving yourself, you don't have extra money for food. You just have money you're not spending. And that's really what we're doing here in the state of North Carolina, is we have a lot of money that's either sitting in unappropriated funds or rainy day funds, or it's being used for other things that we could be putting into school supply budgets like the one that I filed the bill on. It could be used for, you know, higher teacher raises, things like that. And it's just a matter of priorities. And that's why, like he said, I'm happy as a public school champion to be in the building and at least, you know, bringing a voice to these issues. Even though I am in the minority party, I don't have a lot of the power to make the decisions that I would like to see, but I still have the ability to call these things, you know, out, and to make sure that people know that we do have the extra money that are in this budget. We would have to fund almost $80 million at this point to get up to where we were just in 2008. That's how far down we've fallen over the last decade or so.
Can I ask why that is? I mean, certainly everything costs more. I mean, it does in my
really
household.
is. Oh, look, I mean, it's decisions and choices by the General Assembly's budget to not fund it and to cut the funding. I mean, we're at about 40%. Again, I use school supplies because I do think it is a good representative of what's been happening. But we're 40% of what the budget was in 2008, and everything is more expensive, and we have more students. And so and here in Wake County, if you're a Wake County resident, your local property tax dollars are having to go to help supplement and invest in things that you shouldn't have to be paying for. I mean, and you talk about getting into the weeds, but really the majority of public school funding comes from the state of North Carolina. That's per our Constitution. But that slice of that is getting smaller, and our counties like Wake that are blessed to have the resources are making up the difference, not just in school supplies, but in teachers' assistants and assistant principals and school counselors and school security measures. Lots of things that the General Assembly is just simply not funding well enough, while sitting on, I think the last I saw, Representative, was a $3.5 billion surplus of taxpayers' dollar that are not being invested in our schools.
Now, how much money would you say we need? You say it's underfunded. How much more do we need?
Just for school supplies?
Or just if we're underfunded in the school system. I think, didn't they get, it comes from so many different places, but it's over $2 billion, which is a lot of money in my world. How much more do we need, do you think?
Well, to fully fund the Leandra Comprehensive Plan, which you might have heard about in the news, which is basically a plan that was put together and approved by our court system to say, this is what we would need to do in North Carolina in order to provide every child in the state with a sound basic education, which is guaranteed under our state constitution. That is about $1.2 billion to get up to where we need to be over.
In addition to what we already
Right,
correct.
exactly.
Okay.
To provide every child in the state with the same educational opportunities that, you know, we have here in Wake. Like Keith said, we are able to supplement that because of our property taxes. We shouldn't have to do that, but that's what we're doing. But if you look across the state, so many counties are not able to do that because of their tax base, because of their populations. And so children across our state are not getting the same education that we are here in Wake. And so we need to be making significant historic investments in our public education system in order to just get up to the floor, which is a sound basic education.
I mean, we have really fallen. I mean, North Carolina, I mean, I'm a native North Carolina. I guess I kind of grew up understanding and thinking that you invest in our public schools, you invest in our community colleges, you invest in our university system. And we were really seen, I think, for many years as a leader in that in the country. But now we're near the bottom in teacher pay again, about 48th. We're near the bottom on per pupil funding, and our priorities are out of whack. And I think that we need to get them back in line. I mean, our kids deserve it, you know. I mean, I'm a public school kid. My daughter went through public schools, and, you know, she did well. But, you know, there's I think Representative von Haefen nailed it. There are plenty of counties outside of Wake on a bigger scale that they don't have 6 different calculus courses like they have over at wonderful Enloe High School. They don't have all these different leadership academies and choice options within the public schools, and we have them here because of, frankly, the investment in leadership from the county commission, the school board, and our residents.
We got a lot to talk about, and we'll talk about what you're doing to help teachers. And I know you have some bills we need to talk about, and you should pay attention. I know you do. Don't go anywhere, because we got so much to cover, and we'll do that when we come back.